Welcome back to the Friday Show. I'm Colin Alguire with World News. Russian President Vladimir Putin is accusing Ukraine of terrorism after a recent attack on the bridge that runs from Russia to Crimea. A huge explosion on Saturday morning rocked Putin and the rest of Russia, as the only bridge that services both vehicle and train transportation to Crimea was badly damaged by a massive truck explosion. The explosion killed at least 3 people and cut off the primary supply route for Russian troops in Ukraine. While Ukraine has not claimed responsibility for the attack, Putin's response has been brutal. Civilian targets as far away as the Ukrainian capital city Kyiv have suffered deadly Russian rocket attacks in the days since the bridge explosion. North Korean officials have claimed that the purpose of recent nuclear tests is to prepare for a possible tactical nuclear attack against threats emanating from South Korea. North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un has further stated that the tests are in response to actions taken by South Korea, America, and Japan to show that they are ready to retaliate with force against any regional threat. Most world leaders believe these threats to be without merit because North Korean nuclear attack will trigger a massive strike on their own country. Now, we'll head over to Rachel with National News. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this week's Friday Show. I'm Colin Alguire with World News. According to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, about 4.5 million Ukrainian households are without power due to daily Russian attacks. The indiscriminate bombings is causing Ukraine's already troublesome power further stress. Civilian homes and businesses are the targets, not the military. President Zelensky was also quoted as saying, "The very fact that Russia has resorted to terror against the energy sector indicates the weakness of the enemy. They cannot defeat Ukraine on the battlefield, and therefore they are trying to break our people in this way." The power outages have Ukrainian citizens very concerned about a possible cold and dark winter. In other news, both sides of the Ethiopian civil war have agreed to a truce after 2 years of war. The conflict started after the 2019 Nobel Peace Prize recipient, Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, launched a conflict that spiraled into a civil war. Ahmed promised the conflict would be resolved quickly, but that was not the case, as it stretched from November 2020 until November 2022. The war has left thousands dead and more than 2 million displaced. The use of torture, sexual violence, starvation, and the forced consumption of unknown substances has become common in Ethiopian society. That's all I have for World News, so now I'll head over to Rachel with National. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this week's Friday Show. I'm Colin Alguire with World News. The world went into a frenzy Tuesday after it was rumored that a Russian cruise missile landed in Poland and killed 2 people. Poland is a NATO country, and this caused all other countries in NATO to get involved. The United States, Canada, France, Germany, and many others expressed alarm. The internet exploded, believing that this could be the beginning of World War III. Lots were shocked when, within 24 hours later, it was revealed that the missile was likely fired by the Ukrainian military in an attempt to shoot down a Russian missile. Many fear that this could be the beginning of an escalation of the war. Now that the first snow has fallen, Russia is targeting power plants and other critical infrastructure that will make the winter very difficult for the Ukrainian people. Stay tuned. In other news, the population has now surpassed the 8 billion mark. This is a truly massive number. We've reached that number because there are almost 50 million more births than deaths every year. This is especially true in developing countries. While many think this is a gigantic accomplishment, others point to the risks such growth possesses for the future. Supplies of resources like oil, gas, and clean drinking water are already stretched, and things could get even worse. But the situation will likely grow to include shortages of trees, minerals, and ocean wildlife. As the effects of climate change are being seen throughout the world, the rising population numbers can only make things more challenging. Many scientists believe that the world can only sustain between 9 and 10 billion people. The sobering reality is that at the current pace, by 2025, our population will reach 9.8 billion people. That's all I have for World News, so we'll head to Rachel with National. Rachel? Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Friday Show. I'm Colin Alguire, bringing you World News. The deadly Russia-Ukraine war is currently on a stalemate, but we do have news about the anti-government violence on the other side of the world in Peru. The tourist city of Cusco is under attack as 1 protester is dead and 19 police officers are injured after an anti-government clash spread to the city. The Peruvian government is beginning an investigation into all those responsible for the deaths and injuries. In other news, Uganda has officially declared the end of the deadly Ebola outbreak after 42 consecutive days without a case. The outbreak started 114 days ago and killed 55 people. This was the 8th Ebola outbreak in Uganda's history, begging the question, what can they do to stop it? There was a total of 143 confirmed cases and at least 22 probable cases throughout the 114-plus day stretch. That's all I have for world news this week, so let's head to Rachel with national news. According to the New York Times, Russia has sent 55 missiles into Ukraine. Even though Ukraine's Air Force shot down 47 of the missiles, several still found targets and resulted in the deaths of 11 people and caused extensive damage across Kyiv. The attack started at about 10 a.m. local time and continued for over an hour. The attack seems to be in response to German and American announcements that the NATO allies will be sending advanced tanks into Ukraine. However, the tanks are not even expected to arrive for months. Ukraine has also made requests for advanced fighter jets from NATO to protect themselves from Russian aggression. The war is expected to increase in severity in the coming months as spring approaches. In other news, CNN is reporting of a newly discovered asteroid that made one of the closest approaches to Earth ever. The asteroid is about the size of a box truck and flew over the southern tip of South America at 7:27 p.m. yesterday. The asteroid transformed into a fireball once it entered the atmosphere and disintegrated. That's all I have for world news this week, so let's head to Jack, National News. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Friday Show. I'm Colin, Alguire, bringing you world news. The Russia-Ukraine war is continuing to progress as, according to CNN's Ukraine defense chief, has pledged not to strike any Russian territories if given long-range missiles by allies. He has claimed they need these missiles to keep Russia on the defensive and protect Ukraine from future missile attacks. I expect Ukraine to continue fighting defensively because they are on pace to win this war, and why fix something that's not broken? In other news, BBC is reporting that the Dr. Phil show will be ending after 21 seasons. Phil McGaw, the show's host, will be leaving the show for, quote, new ventures, CBS Media Ventures announced last Tuesday. The show will continue airing for the 2022-23 season. This may be shocking news for some, especially because the show has been on air since 2002, but due to some recent scandals with some of the rehabilitation facilities he sent children to, this news was just a matter of time. That's all I have for world news this week, so let's head to Jack with national news. Jack? Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Friday Show. I'm Colin Alguire, bringing you world news. Rapidly, as according to CNN, Russia has Ukraine on the defensive in the Luhansk region. Russia is having minimal success in this effort as Ukraine's defense is holding strong. Ukraine strongly believes that this push is part of Russia's full-scale attack they've been planning for a pretty long time now. Ukraine has been trying to disrupt the key road between Crimea and Sovtova, which has been the front line for months. This war will continue to progress, so make sure you stay tuned. In other news, BBC is reporting that the Chinese spy balloon that hovered above the U.S. for 3 days before the U.S. shot it down was able to gather communication signals used by the U.S. Yesterday, United States lawmakers passed a non-binding resolution condemning China for the use of the balloon. But even earlier than that, on Thursday, the United States House of Representatives voted 419-0, condemning its use. It's safe to say that Americans and politicians agree this was a huge invasion of privacy, and many still question China's motives. That's all I have for world news, so let's head to Jack with national news.